gosh.
All right, so I got a question for you.
I have an answer. Maybe.
Do you remember, I think this is the only time that we've met, actually. Do you remember the last time that we saw each other?
Yes, it's the second time we've seen it. No, this is the third time.
It was in D.C.
It was in D.C., Tech 808.
Tech 808, right?
Georgetown University.
Close.
Was it Georgetown?
George Washington.
George Washington.
One of those Georges.
Somewhere up in there.
One of those Georges, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so now, do you remember the advice that I gave you? This is the moment of truth. This will make or break our relationship right now.
So we just broke the relationship because I have no clue.
Are you serious?
I'll tell you what I do remember.
Okay.
I remember us walking out, and we were talking. You was giving some advice, and I'll tell you what made me build my respect for you the first time that I met you. We were talking. You was like, I don't really do selfies, but we're going to take a selfie. And in the middle of us about to do the selfie, your wife called. and I don't know what she said. You was like, you know what? I was supposed to be home like a while ago. So you was like, okay, let's take the selfie. And we talked for a little while. And you was like, I love what you're doing. I'll be in touch. And you were gone. And I was like, you know what? I like that. Like
I was scared. Like, I got to get home. All right. So it's interesting because I remember us taking a selfie, but I remember specifically giving you advice. And the reason why I remember specifically giving you this advice is because you reminded me of my wife. And there's a characteristic about her that you both share.
what is it?
She's from, what I say, the South.
Okay.
She's from the South, right? And
That's why she's so special.
yeah, yes, it is, and that's why, I'm just gonna stop right there. Yes, and she had a nice Southern drawl, a nice Southern accent. Now, do you remember what I?
No.
You don't remember, Sheena? Are you serious?
I don't.
Oh my God. Okay, I remember that I specifically said, "I love everything you're doing. You're crushing it. Don't ever lose your accent."
You did say that.
You remember this, right?
You did say that. You did.
Now, has anyone ever told you that?
No.
No. So it sounds like some crazy advice, right?
I mean, people say they love my accent, but no one's ever like, make sure you don't lose it.
Don't lose it, right? Why do you think I said that?
It makes me stand out.
Okay.
People don't expect people with a Southern drawl or accent to do what I do. It's definitely like the old country bumpkins who, live in the rural country areas and, have the really minimum wage jobs and aren't really smart. The stereotypical thing that comes along with the Southern drawl.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much I'm just like, nope, you can have a Southern drawl and kill it.
Yes. So you personify, in not just your accent, but you personify in so many ways this theory that I have, right? And it's this whole idea of we should play to the areas that there's a bias towards us and then play against the areas where there's a bias against us, right? And so when you think about, actually, I got to already bring in, all right, William. So you from, you're a Northerner.
Absolutely.
Right? From NY, New Jersey, right? This is your spot, right? Mm-hmm. So you're from up north. Mm-hmm. What do you consider to be the Southern stereotype?
Southern stereotype, something with poverty, something with probably slowness, lacking intelligence.
Okay.
But that's something I got from the media.
No. But that's cool. So you're saying maybe a little slow, okay? Maybe lacking intelligence. But then could we also say most likely on the positive side, what would you say is polite, right? Nice, right? I think that is the stereotype around the world, not just between North and South in the United States, but you could go to the UK and there's a different stereotype if you live up north or if you live in the South. You can go to Jamaica. There's a different stereotype if you live out in the West or in the East, right? There's all of these biases that we have. Same thing in Turkey, right? See, yes. Selchuk is I can go on for days on this. But when I think about the space that you're in, technology, I think about entrepreneurship, I think that what ultimately people want is when you're trying to get business done, you want to be respected, right?
Sure.
You want to be trusted. But where does trust and respect come from? Well, Amy Cuddy broke it down in her book Presence, one of my favorites, where she says, okay, in order to be trusted, you have to first be liked. You instantaneously, just because of the Southern drawl, like you could be the most like terrible, mean, right? You were talking about spitting on people before we started, right? No, no, I'm joking. No. But that could be your personality. But the moment that you talk, people will immediately go to the bias of, okay, I like her, right? And then I think the power is when you can take a trait and you could flip it on its head. That's where you stand out. When people hear the Southern drawl, they think, man, probably not that smart. But then when they hear you, they think, damn, she actually is really smart. So you flip it, and because you flip it, there's a moment that's created. You become memorable.
Yeah.
They like you, and you become memorable. I think that is power.
It is.
And Sheena, that's why I told you that.
I agree. I do. You're right. You are correct. I still, it's funny because even with that now, I'm almost at the stage of like people ask me to do certain things. I'm just like, not quite sure I want to. Like even for like media purposes, like I have like PR people that come at me all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, like, I would love to like, I think I can like build you into this person. It's, I guess, like socialite entrepreneur. And I'm just like, nah. Like, I'm good. Even now people are like, who's your PR person?
Right.
You've been in everything. I'm like, so this thing I do called work is a really great PR person for me. But it does. It's funny because from a side of entrepreneurship, from a side of like media, from a side of being like a socialite, like I have people that come to me all the time for like opportunities and trying to be like the Southern Belle,
Yes.
And I'm just,
No.
We'll see where it goes one day, but not right now.
Yeah, like I think probably what I most respect about you is that you are unique and you embody your uniqueness versus a lot of people who try to assimilate and say, okay, what I'm going to do is try to do everybody's swerving left, I'm going to swerve left. I think you kind of say, no, you know what? I feel like swerving right. So I'm just going to stay right, and I want to get into why that is, right? And how that's come to be, because most people do follow along with the masses opposed to trying to stand out. So let's go back to childhood, because I think childhood is always a major reflection
For sure.
as who we are as adults.
For sure.
So tell me about Sheena Allen as a child, but in particular though, like tell me about what you believe was like, if I were to say like, what was your, how would you describe yourself as a child? And I'm talking about like, like high school child.
So I was, without any intention, I was kind of like the perfect student, the perfect child. And it was not anything that I worked towards in trying to like be this like perfect person, but I was definitely like the geek in school. So I was in National Honor Society. I was in Beta Club. I was homecoming queen. I played varsity basketball, varsity volleyball.
You played varsity basketball?
I did. I was captain of the basketball team.
Did
actually.
you?
I was.
Were you the shortest one on the team?
I was not.
Okay.
I was not.
Okay.
I played the 2 or the 3.
Okay.
I did play the 1 every now and then.
Wow.
But I was that person that just did everything, and it came natural to me. I mean, like my senior year of college, we had someone new that came in, took over the yearbook, and they was trying to put the yearbook stuff together, and it like wasn't working. And it's like, because I was in art, so I was really big in art, and so they came to me and was like, "So Sheena, I know you're doing like 20 other things, but you want to be like the chief editor of the yearbook?" And I was like, "Cool."
Wow.
So I've always just kind of done everything. But I will say what was opposite was when I went off to college.
Okay.
First off, I did not want to go to college. I wasn't my parents forced me. I didn't know then what I know now. In the sense of there's other avenues to kind of get to where you want to go. Growing up in Mississippi, it's kind of structured that if you're going to make it out of high school, you go to college.
Okay.
So, but when I got to college, a lot of my friends were like, okay, you're going to do homecoming, you're going to do this, and you're going to pledge. And I was like, I ain't doing shit.
Wow.
Like, I'm going to class, I'm going home. Like, I don't want to do, because I have done it so much to like grade school.
Oh, you were just tired.
I was over it.
Okay.
So I was like the kid who literally went to class and went to my dorm. Like I was not in the yard. I wasn't trying to pledge. I probably had like 5 friends in college, to be 100% honest.
That's surprising.
And it was because I wasn't trying to be social. I was over it. And I didn't want to be there too. So that probably played a role.
Right. So it's interesting because you said that you were kind of forced to go to college. I feel the same way. I feel I was kind of forced to go. And I, like, to this day, I mean, no disrespect to anybody who's going to college. I've gone to college, went to grad school. I feel like it was a waste.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it again. If somebody said, if the question of when people say, if you could do it again, would you? I wouldn't.
You wouldn't go?
I wouldn't go.
Now, why wouldn't you go?
I think that college is essential for one, is based off what you're going to school for. So, like, you're a doctor, please go to school. I need you to know, like, what you're doing if you're a doctor. You know, I don't skip it, please. I think college is good for in certain fields. I also think college is great for everybody in a sense that it does teach social skills. As far as, you're at your parents' house, you got to wake up yourself, you got to go to class yourself. Like, your mom is not, waking you up every morning to make sure you catch the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not one of those situations. It's your responsibility. Like, your professor's not knocking on your dorm room door if you don't come to class. Like,
right.
It's
right.
on you. So I think those skills are actually really important and they're taught in college. But I don't think college is the path to success for every single person. And I started my first company in college, and I am proud to be an alum of Southern Miss. And I mention it all the time. I do media. Because I started my first company there. It didn't make me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of passing the time by, to be 100% honest.
Yeah, and then on top of it too, and we'll get into it because this is like the field that you're in right now is like the cost
Yes.
and the debt that we incur going off to school is just ridiculous. So it's like, okay, we're gonna spend, like, my niece is getting ready to go to she wants to go to Howard University. It's gonna cost her $40,000 a year to go to this school. And I was thinking to myself, damn, we could take that money, you could travel the world, you could learn so many different cultures on a lot less than that. So it's one of those where
Yeah. I mean, I think it's for some people. I don't knock it. When I speak to students or whatever, I always definitely push college if it's the right avenue for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not in agreement with the fact that we are expecting an 18-year-old to go get debt when an 18-year-old really doesn't know what he or she wants.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
most of my friends who have good jobs now, they actually went back to school like 25, 26. They did nothing in their field over their major at like 18, 19.
Yeah, exactly. And when you think about grad school, right? So I went to business school. Everyone that was in my business school class, we had already been out of school for 5 to 10 years. So we could figure out, okay, this is what we really want to do. We also have the experience. So now let us go back and then look at the theory applied to our experience. At 18, it's like, what have you done? Right?
Yeah. Like you can't drink till you're 21 because it's an adult decision. But you want me to pick a major and pick a school and get in $100,000 worth of debt at 18? Like that.
But you were drinking before. When did you have your first drink, Sheena?
My first drink I had at 14.
At 14. What was it? You remember?
The Smirnoff, actually.
It was.
The Smirnoff.
It was Smirnoff. Did you have it with someone or by yourself?
Definitely with some friends. This is the crazy thing. It was another thing too. When I got to college, everything that you do at like college to be sneaky or when you turn 18, I had done it
already.
So it wasn't like exciting to me. Like I snuck and got a tattoo in like 8th grade.
Did you?
I did.
Of what?
It's an angel kissing a bird. I know. 8th grade.
An angel kissing a bird. Can I ask you, and where is it?
It's on my shoulder blade.
Okay.
Well, I'm actually I'm about to go through the process of getting it removed now.
All right.
I am. I know. 8th grade, it's what happens when you're 14. Mm-hmm. And I definitely have my times of drinking. And don't get me wrong, and this is what I love about my parents, though. My parents were definitely, like, great parents. I grew up in a 2-parent household. Both of my parents were really great. But my parents were very much like, you go out, you make mistakes. Mm-hmm. I prefer you to make mistakes at a younger age that you can correct and learn from versus making a mistake at 22 or 25.
Right.
And ain't no coming back from those mistakes. So they definitely had rules. It wasn't like I could come to the house at 4 o'clock in the morning, but it was a very open environment where it was like,
You could
learn.
do you. Yeah.
You learn.
It would also sounds to be, I think, reminiscent of a lot of entrepreneurs that I've talked to who've been extraordinarily successful, is that they had what they felt was unconditional love and support from either both of their parents or one parent or a grandparent, so that you knew you could make quote unquote mistakes. You could go out, experience and explore, but you always had a place to come back to.
For sure.
Right? That's so important. So important.
More so probably my mom than my dad. And my dad, I'm a daddy's girl now. Like he just called ex before I came here. I talk to my parents every day, which for one side note, I think it's so weird that a lot of my friends talk to their parents like once a month or once a week.
Right.
And they're like, how often do you talk to your parents? Oh, like 7 times a day.
Yep.
Like I don't know if it's maybe just me and my parents.
No.
But,
Same. I talk to my parents at least once a day.
At least once.
Yeah.
Like if my dad doesn't call by 10 a.m., I'm calling him like, okay, why haven't I heard from you? Same with my mom. If it's 10 a.m.'s kind of thing. But anyway, so it was funny because I think it's the way they grew up also. So my dad's side of the family is Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
My mom's side is Baptist.
Wow.
So
how'd that work?
It was, my dad was kicked out a while ago and never went back.
Because of your mom? Because of the relationship with your mom?
He was actually, he had a child, he had kids before he met my mom.
Okay.
So when he had, you have kids out of wedlock, they don't, know how that goes. And he just never went through the process of getting back into the hall, as they call it, or the truth.
Okay.
So it was, so I would say a lot of that unconditional deep love. My dad's side of the family is great. I'm super close to my cousins now. My grandmother, she's the only grandmother I have left. So I love her, call her as much as I can, go see her when I'm in Mississippi. But my mom's side, just that Southern Baptist, open arm. My grandmother, probably my great grandmother more than my grandmother, but just that lessons, open arms, whatever you do,
all that food too.
I'll love it still. The pea liquor.
Oh man, I
mentioned pea liquor to somebody and they was like, what the hell is that?
So on my father's side, my father's from Columbia, South Carolina. That's like straight, I mean, all it is moonshine and fried chicken.
Yes.
Like that's all it is.
No, catfish is a little bit more Southern.
Yeah. They don't do catfish. Yeah. But yeah, fried chicken. And was it like was it pound bread? What do you was it pound bread? Yeah.
You have, it depends. You have different types of cornbread. So, but it's usually made from scratch. It's nothing like Southern food.
Yeah.
You can say that.
Yeah, it's good.
Like Southern food.
But so, all right, this now makes all the sense in the world to me why you started a business in college. Because most of us are not starting a business in college, right? So tell me about why you decided to create a business in college. What was kind of the jump off for you to start it?
For one, I didn't want to be there. So I actually had a business in high school.
Okay.
I would design shoes for people. So they would bring me like some white Forces or like something just like with some white shoes, and they would say, "Hey, I want them to be Mickey Mouse." So I would
and you would hook them up.
Yeah. So I would design them out. I want to be an artist. Like I was super deep into the arts. So I was actually doing that to make money in high school.
Interesting.
And then I got to college, and I kind of put the painting down. My dad told me I had to go to school for something that was going to make me real money. Because in the South, nobody thinks that art, especially in 2011, nobody thought art was going to make money.
Right.
So I went to school. I actually made money by shooting pool with people. I know, sounds so bad. Now that I said
you
out
made
loud.
money shooting pool. You were a pool shark.
So, you walk in, you're the pretty girl. They're like, oh, like, you don't need to be in here. Like, no, we're doing this. I'm like, oh, like, I want to play. It's like, I really feel bad to take your money. I'm like, look, I'm a big girl. Like, let's play. So, yes, I was.
You made money. You were a pool shark. That's what you're telling us.
Pretty much, I was.
Okay.
I did.
All right. I respect that.
I did my thing.
I respect that.
And then it was actually so crazy. I don't know if I've told this story. Maybe I have. So my freshman year of college, I discovered Mark Zuckerberg. This is a true story.
Okay.
This was when Facebook, of course, was early. This was 2008. And I was like, I can create something way better than Facebook. So I created this company called iZone Central. iZone Central.
Okay.
And I was trying to find some developers. My mom does business analyst work. And so she knew developers, programmers. And I was like, well, I'm going to figure out how to develop myself. And then like I would bring somebody in to help me. So one of her friends, his friend owned an entire development company out in Arlington, Texas.
Okay.
All this true story. So me and my mom, we go to Arlington. We already had the prototype ready, so he has it. And we sent it to him like a month before we went out. So we get there, and I'm sure you had these. So like, when somebody loves it, when you get there, like, he takes us out for like this nice dinner, like, the steak and the potatoes.
Trying to woo you. Yeah.
And we go back to the office when we're done, and he's like, absolutely love it. Mind you, it was an Indian guy. Okay. And he's like, absolutely love it. Like, I think like this is the next big thing. And I mean, not to say to myself, I knew I created something that was going to be like super dope.
But all right, at that point though, you hadn't really created anything, right? No. It was like a design.
It was all, but it was like, when I tell you it was like laid out, it was like every piece of functionality and flow was there. Like, okay. And it was called iZone Central because it was broken down to sections. So like one was like a zone for like e-commerce, one was a zone for pure social, one was like, it was iZone. So in one big, but you can break out the zones.
Okay.
And right before we left, he made me a proposal, and he said, "I love what you're doing. It's gonna cost you $80,000." And I was like, "I don't have $80,000. No, my parents don't have $80,000." Mm-hmm. He said, "Well, I love it so much, and I know it's the next biggest thing that I will actually pay for it and do all the marketing in India. You're only responsible for the marketing in America, but I have to have 51%.
Okay, that's not bad. 51%.
And he's like, what do you think? And I was like, well, let me think on it. So we went to the hotel room that night. That morning, we go back to the office and we meet him. And honestly, that the entire time, I'm asking my mom, like, Mom, what do you think? Like, what do you think? And my mom, she's like, it's on you. You created this.
What'd your father say?
I didn't even talk to my dad about it. He didn't come with just me and my mom when we went. My brother didn't go. No, it was just me and my mom.
Okay.
And I only consulted with my mom. I was like, Mom, like, what do you think? Like, And young, I'm 19.
Right.
I go back next morning. I'm like, nah.
You passed on it.
I passed.
So it was 80,000 he was going to put up. He wanted 51% of the company, and he was going to develop everything.
Yeah.
As well as market it in India.
Right.
And all you had to do was promote it here.
Right.
You said no.
I said no.
Okay. All right.
And
I see you.
It's when I look back on it, I should have took the deal. I'll admit that I should have taken it. I definitely should have. But being young and learning, it was in my mind. I was like 51%. I'm not giving anybody. Like I worked really hard to create this. Like I'm not giving anybody majority of something that I took the time to truly create.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to happen.
This idea.
Like not going to happen.
This idea.
So I shut it down, and it, my mom told me years later, she was like, I was hoping you was going to take that deal. But she never pressured me. She was like, she literally said, this is your idea. This is your company. You created this. Whatever you say, I support you.
That says so much, I think, about the relationship between you and your mom and her parenting. Yeah. Like, that says a lot. Like, she's a superhero.
Yeah. Now, my dad, my brother, when they found out, they were like, what the?
Crazy.
Like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
And I was like, so that probably played a role also of me not wanting to be in college, because it's like, this happened my freshman year. So sophomore year, I'm just like,
right.
How the hell am I here? Like,
yeah, because at that point, you've already been given this extraordinary offer, but also it seems like at that point, too, you're extraordinarily confident in your skills, in your ability, right? So you can create almost anything you want.
Yes.
Right? And it's interesting because I think that's also something I see with a lot of successful entrepreneurs is there's almost this superhero complex, right? Not yet Kanye West-esque.
Never let me get there, please.
Yeah, you're not, you weren't there, but you're still at a point where you think, there are very few things I can't do.
Oh, for sure.
So that's fine. 80,000. Okay, fine. That's one deal, but I'm going to have 100 other deals.
For sure.
And clearly, you got 100 others. So it was then your senior year that you created the next business.
Right.
All right. So tell us about that business.
So senior year, going into my senior year, well, technically it was I did 4.5 years of college. Okay. So because I had 2 majors and a minor, so I did a lot of things. So that I graduated in December 2011. So that summer, going into that last semester, I had subleased my apartment out, going back, go to Walmart, picking up stuff, have this long receipt, and was just like, you know what? I wish there was an app, that I can keep up my money and my receipts. And in 2011, the App Store was still very young.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to create this app. And my roommate thought I was completely crazy. She's like, Sheena, what? And I was like, I'm going to create this mobile app. And I did. Like, I Googled stuff. I was still sketching out and learning stuff, from my, notepads and using Microsoft Word to do like text boxes, all the crazy stuff that you don't do to create an app. But I was like, I'm going to figure it out.
So your roommate thought you were crazy because you had no development experience aside from basically like a wireframe situation that you had created your freshman year.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I was in school for psychology, film, and marketing. So those were my double majors in
film,
marketing.
and marketing.
Marketing was my minor.
I love that trio though.
And so, I mean, it's interesting.
That's a hot trio.
And most people think I'm totally, it's like, what? Like, those are three totally different things. So I wasn't in school for anything technical, but I was like, I'm going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And the very first app didn't do very well, but I fell in love with the process. The saying goes, like, when you find something that you love, like, it, like, that's what you're meant to do. And even though that first app didn't do well, just the process of it, like, I was like, I love this. Like, this, I am meant to do technology.
But what was it that you loved the most? Was it the idea creation? Was it the actual, putting the design together? Was it the selling of it? What was it? It
wasn't although the UI UX building I love that. It's one of my favorite parts of even building of technology. But it was the fact that I could take something that was in my head. Mm-hmm. I can develop it, and people from all over the world will use it and will love it.
Right.
That was just amazing to me.
Right.
Because most of us, we'll think of an idea or we'll put on an event or we'll talk to friends. It's like kind of doesn't go any further than that. But it was like, I can really touch the world through technology. Like ideas that I have in my head, like my little head,
right.
I can touch the world by like going through the development phase and putting this out for the world to touch.
The impact of it all.
The impact, yeah.
Yeah. So you said it didn't do well.
The first one didn't do well.
Okay.
And so right before I graduated in November, I developed my second app, which was an app called Words on Pics.
Okay.
Which looking back, I was definitely before my time. So Words on Pics now is like huge.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a meme almost, right?
Yeah. But in 2011, it wasn't super popular.
Wow. So you were doing that in 2011?
Yes.
Okay.
And it did like 5,000 downloads though, like quick. And I was like, okay, like I'm onto something here.
Were you charging for the app?
Yeah, we had one paid version, one free version.
Okay.
And most of it was the free version, of course. But I was making money, so I was making some money.
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
Yeah. But wait, I'm sorry. You are 1 year out of school at this point.
No, I was still in school.
You're still in school?
Still in school.
Okay. Go ahead.
And so I graduated in December. And my dad was kind of like, okay, are you going to get a job? Or are you about to go to grad school? Mm-hmm. Like, my dad is he loves me, but to the point where it's like he doesn't like risk. It's like, go get a 9-to-5 and get a guaranteed paycheck.
Exactly.
And I was kind of like, so, that's not what I want out of life. So I'm going to go figure out this whole entrepreneurship thing. And he was not feeling that idea at all.
But you were basically telling him that you didn't even want a full-time job. You just wanted to be a full-time entrepreneur.
Yes. He was not feeling that idea.
No.
At all.
Because did he have to, was he paying? No.
Well, the crazy thing about it is when I graduated and like maybe a month or two later when I was like, I'm not going to grad school, I'm not about to go look for a 9-to-5, he cut me off.
Did he?
He did.
So how'd you afford to live?
Well, the company was bringing in money at that time.
Okay.
So from the money I was making from the company, plus my mom was helping me out as much as she could financially, without him finding out. So it wasn't like she could throw me a whole bunch of money because of course, they shared accounts, and he knew how much he made. He knows how much she makes. So as much as she could throw me on the side, like she would help me out. But the company was making money too.
Wow. Were you living at home?
Yeah, I lived at home. Well, at that point, my parents were divorced. So my parents got divorced when I was in college.
Okay.
So I would go spend time with my mom, then I would go spend time
Gotcha.
with my dad.
Gotcha.
And of course, my dad is when I was with him, he cooked all the time, so I didn't have to worry about food because he was cooking.
Yeah.
My mom, bless her heart, she can't cook anything. So when I was with her, I had to buy food, so I split time. But the company was making money, and I just kept like pushing out apps, and I was like, I know like one of these
was that the foundation of Sheena Allen Apps?
Yes.
Okay.
That was, and because at one point I was like, I'm just going to develop different apps. And I was like, no, I'm going to create a portfolio, and I'm going to house them all under this one umbrella, which was Sheena Allen Apps. And I was like, I'm going to keep spinning them out until like one of these is going to be a home run. It was kind of like the Angry Birds story, where Angry Birds put out, was 100?
Yep. Before
one hit.
So then at this point, though, is it just you? You're the
Just
only,
me.
it's just you. And you are coding or no?
No.
Okay, you're outsourcing
I did
the
some
coding.
coding, but for the most part, I outsource. Like
Okay.
trying to do UI, UX, QA testing, and development is super hard. So for the
Right.
most part, I outsource the coding.
So you outsourced the coding, but you were promoting it.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
I did my designs too. So designing UI, all the user interface of it, like I designed it all myself.
Gotcha.
I sent to a coder. He did the back end. Even sent it back to me. So the QA part, the testing part of like I did everything pretty much except for like that back end coding.
But now Sheena Allen Apps, that was incredibly successful because I
It
remember
was.
when I met you, it was like it was James and Anthony Fraser,
Yes.
at a fat startup,
Yeah.
right? They were like, "Oh, you gotta meet this! She's killing it. She's got all this stuff." And I remember Googling you, and I was like, "Damn! Like
Yeah.
you had." It was millions
It was
of downloads
millions.
at that point.
All
right?
organic. I spent no money on marketing. I didn't have any money to spend on marketing. So it was truly, when I say organic growth, like I built a company, millions of downloads, pure organic growth.
Damn. Can you talk about the money?
Yeah.
Okay. So talk about the money. How much money? Like, yeah, I mean, at that point, right? Because I think a lot of people who launch businesses, right? What we oftentimes forget is that most people are not out here making much money at all.
At all.
Like at all. Like
That's why I have no problem telling the story, because I want people to understand I learned so much. And that's why I truly believe I do so well with CapWay, is because I learned the hard lessons with my first company. So even though the traction was there, I would say in the 4 years that we went super strong.
Wait, hold on. Let me ask this.
Okay.
William, all right. We know, so because I think this is a good like perception versus reality, right? So Sheena's running this company at this point, right? How many millions of downloads do you have?
Probably about right 3 million.
3 million downloads out the App Store. How much do you think she's making on an annual basis at that point? Revenue from her company?
$10,000.
$10,000?
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
All right.
Is that accurate? Is that?
How much were you making? 300,000. All right, Celtic's like 300,000.
A little bit under 100,000.
All right.
Okay.
A little under 100,000. All right. But I think the reason why that was interesting to me is I think most folks like
Millions.
millions.
She's killing it.
Yeah, it's like millions. She's making millions of dollars. She got a Bentley. I know she's got a Bentley, right?
But I also missed the mark, and it was because I didn't know. So that's why, like, not only because I am a Black entrepreneur, but I know when you don't have those resources, what it's like when you're missing the mark, when you could have had a home run. So I mean, for me, what a lot of people don't know is I had an app at one time that was doing over 10,000 downloads per day. That's just one of the apps that I had. Like, that's not counting the other ones that was also pushed. So
10,000 downloads a
from
day.
just one of the apps. So
And it wasn't a porn app.
no.
That's what man.
Now, what should have happened was at the peak of that, I should have went and started pitching and saying, look, this is what we are. This is our
Right.
retention.
Right.
But because I'm from Mississippi, I honestly don't know. I'm thinking that somebody's going to come to me eventually, like, want to acquire the company, acquire the app, or talk about money. I didn't know that that's when you go and start pitching.
Right, double down.
So by the time I even got to the point of having real mentors in the tech field, I won't say I was on the downslope of it, but I didn't hit it when I was at my peak. Mm-hmm. And it's a hard lesson, but I'm glad that I learned it, because now I know that, hey, sometimes even before you get to the peak, when you're selling the dream to going up the hill, that's when you start hitting and talking to investors and doing A, B, and C. And I didn't do that because I just didn't know.
Okay. So if you were to then to like let's do a whole postmortem on your business, right? If you were to go back to day one of Sheena Allen Apps, right? Day one, what is the most significant thing differently you would have done? Whoa, she's thinking on that one.
Gosh.
She's thinking. She's doing a deep
Sold
dive
the
thing.
company for
Oh, but before she started though.
51,000.
Yeah, but before, like, what would you have done day one difference? Because she didn't know it was going to be 10,000 downloads a day coming.
Probably got the hell out of Mississippi.
Really? That's big. You would have started the business somewhere else.
Yep.
Damn. Why? Why do you say that?
I love Mississippi. It's home. Long term, I plan to make change, but it wasn't a place to grow. And being optimistic and thinking I'm this person, the superhero, you know, I can do it here if nobody's ever done it. I hurt myself. I should have went somewhere where when someone would told somebody else, oh, you know, this girl's doing 10,000 downloads a day,
Right.
they would have made a phone call or reached out. No one's going to reach out in Mississippi when you're doing 10,000 downloads a day. Like, it's technology. Like, the infrastructure is just not there. I guarantee you, if I would have been in the Bay or in Austin or in New York and I was doing 10,000, 20,000 dollars a day,
Right.
this story would be totally different.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. So is that a regret?
I don't regret anything.
Okay, look at that. I don't regret. Soldier right there. I don't regret.
mean,
it was a lesson.
It was a lesson, but it was 100% was a learning lesson.
Okay.
Big learning lesson, for sure.
All right. I think that speaks to how important environment is.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
As an entrepreneur. So it seems like that's something that you're advocating for, is that before you even starting the business, you've got to assess your environment and you have to make sure that it's the right environment for you to be able to
sure.
excel.
For sure. I mean, like I said, I wanted to work in Mississippi because it was like everybody counts us out. It's like I'm going to be the person that's like, I'm going to change the perception of it. Like, we're going to be good. I watched this interview and I actually posted not long ago. And it was Lisa, I can't think of her last name. But in her interview, she said, it took me 10 years of growing. I'm paraphrasing here. But she said, it took me leaving and walking through the door myself and learned the hard lessons myself and realized it took that and me doing that. And then I could reach back and bring everybody else with me. Yeah. And I'm much better off and they're much better off by me leaving and growing first.
Right.
If that was my mentality, 10 years ago, that story would be totally different. If my mentality was let me leave, let me grow, then I can come back and I can make change when the time is right, the story would be totally different.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. You know, so Sheena Allen Apps, 10,000 downloads a day, like at the pinnacle, that must be when we met, right?
Yes.
Around that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we was maybe not too long after, because Dublin was the app that was doing 10,000 downloads a day. And then right after, I released an app called, right after I released an app called Twit Booth, another story. Twit Booth, before they put the media tab in the Twitter app,
Yeah.
I had an app called Twit Booth. And what it was pure media from your tweets.
Wow. Wow.
I get a nice little letter from Twitter. I still have it. I kept it. Email. They said I was like infringing and all this stuff they was trying to say. And I would say like a month later, the media tab showed up in the Twitter app, the official Twitter app. Like, I still have that email to this day.
See, so what do you think happened?
I think they saw it and was like,
yeah, let me do this.
Yeah.
This happens time and time again. And I think it disproportionately happens, quite frankly, to minority entrepreneurs, time and time again.
So I shut that company down because it was like, at that point, I mean, why would you go to Twit Booth to look at media from tweets when you can just go to the official Twitter app?
Right.
And so right after, I put out an app called Slit, which is when you and I met. So Slit was, I got the idea from a celebrity photographer in Houston. And what he was doing was he was taking these photos that he had taken, and he was in Photoshop, and he was cutting those photos up into squares, and he was putting them on his Instagram page.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, I remember
and
that.
I thought it was like I honestly was like, this is the dopest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, can I turn that into an app? And he was like, I don't care. I was like, you want like be partners? He's like, nah, like do your thing. And I put it out and it just took off. And now, of course, now you have like Giant Square and like 50 million other ones. But if you look at the date on when those apps were released, like Slit was like,
I remember there were a lot of big celebrities.
Yes.
Downloading that. Who were some of the big names on that one?
Stevie Johnson, which was at the time he's wide receiver for the 49ers, was probably one of the, because he was like really big at the time. Like he was probably the first person to like, do like a real shout out that was like, and he hit me in my DMs, and in all honesty, it wasn't like that. He just hit me in my DMs. He's like, yo, he's like, I'm using this app. He's like, then I realized it's by a female and it's by a black female. He's like, yo, this is dope.
Yeah,
and he's like, he was a black wide receiver, but he like ended up like doing this whole like shout out on his like Instagram page, and after that, it just kind of
took off.
It just kind of took off.
It just took off. Now, how much of the brand, your business brand taking off, was based on your personal brand taking off? Because I remember at that time, I think it was because you came on my radar, and then I started seeing you everywhere.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, Sheena is speaking here. She's speaking here. She's on Mars. She's speaking here, right? It's like, so how much, like, well, walk me through that mindset, because I feel like we oftentimes buy the brand before we buy the product, right? So it's like people buying into you.
Yep.
So were you really methodical at that point to try to grow your brand so that you could therefore grow your business?
I really didn't understand the whole strategic way of doing it at first.
Okay.
And cause I get a question a lot of times to say, well, did you name it Sheena Allen Apps to grow your personal brand?
Right.
And I was like, nope, I couldn't think of a different name. So I named it Sheena Allen App. So it had nothing to do with me purposely trying to grow my personal brand as Sheena Allen. But it's like when one request started, they did not stop. And what I'm hoping that I don't look back another 10 years from now and say, you know what, even then I should have went ahead and hired like a PR person to like take my brand to like the next level. But I didn't, and to this day, I honestly still don't have a PR person. So, was it maybe a month ago when I made Inc.'s Female 100, and I've been on every.
There you go.
I've been on like every
Inc. 100, Forbes 30 under 30, Donald Trump's top tech entrepreneur.
Please leave me off all lists. I'm making the same request that Prince estate made to Donald Trump. Don't include me on any of your list of your music, anything. But yeah, I started doing like a lot of interviews, and then people started buying in, and people would also, had the PR people that would come and say, I think I can do this for your brand or for you. And for the longest, I turned down a lot of interviews. Like as many interviews you probably can find of me right now on Google, I couldn't tell you how many I've turned down, because it took friends of mine, because I would be with friends and I would get an email from, I don't know, some publication to do an interview, and I would write back and say, thank you, but I'm going to pass. They would always ask me why. And I was like, I just want to do the work. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't really care to, be in the magazines or do these interviews. Like, I just want to do the work, because the work, in my opinion, at that time, I was like, the work will speak for itself. Like, I just want to do the work. I don't really care about anything else. And it took friends of mine and other peers in the industry that said, I understand only wanting to do the work, and that means that you truly mean that you're in it for the right reason.
Right.
But there's not enough black women to represent what you do and who you are. So you have an opportunity to do the work, but also make an impact on somebody else's life by being more so in front of the camera. And that's what kind of changed me to be like, okay, let me do more interviews, let me do more photo shoots, let me, whatever the case. So it was. I have, and I kind of am still building my personal brand on my own terms. Right. I also don't do well with rules. Yeah. So that might be another thing that I'm having to work through. Because I will be honest. I've had PR people that call that I will take I'll take the meeting, and they'll be like, we think that you'll do great in doing this and this way. And I'm just like, no.
Yeah. You know what? It seems like that's something that you still debate in your mind. The personal, Sheena Allen, the personal brand, leveraging you as a personal brand versus doing the work. And the reason why I say that in particular is because All right, so I am a stalker. I'm a people stalker. Like that is legit. That's one of my top traits. Like that's a characteristic.
Okay,
right?
stalker, go ahead.
I'm a stalker, right? And I'm proud of it. All right. And I did some stalking of your IG account right before you came in here, and I found something to be fascinating. Fascinating.
Okay.
You know what this is? You know what this is, William? What do you think I saw on Sheena's IG that has blown my mind? Come on, don't act like you haven't seen it. You've seen it. Look at him. He's already seen it. He can recount the last 5 posts. What do you think? What do you think is shocking?
Well,
Celtric's looking right now. What do you think is shocking? This is a good plug. Everybody go to, who is it? Who is
Sheena?
Who is Sheena?
WHOISSHEENA.
Go there. What do you think? This is a really good case study right
a
now.
lot of text.
Instagram case study. All right. So there's text. Okay.
Text.
All right. No. All right. You're on it though. You're on the path. Give me more. Informative. All right. Celtric is like informative. You guys are on the path. Give me more. Give me more. Give me more.
I'm unsure.
Unsure. Okay.
Like a mentor.
Like a mentor.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, what I've noticed is there's 2 things in particular. She's like, uh-oh, here we go.
I want to hear it.
I notice that there is.
I feel like I should go look my own self.
Just go, what is my Instagram? There is almost like this arsenal that you choose not to use. And now I understand you choose not to use it because you are focused on the impact. And I've noticed that the trend is actually to use that. And what I mean is that I don't think you exploit yourself.
Oh, not at all.
I don't see any like Sheena Allen in the tight dress, but pointing you like I'm really talking about entrepreneurship, but really I want you to look at me in my tight dress situation. And this is the case time and time again, right? That's used. Like, look at my laptop. Oh, look at my cleavage shot. But look at this laptop though, right? This is become status quo online. Sure. Like, and the fellas are doing it too. The fellas are like, I'm a hardcore entrepreneur, but here's my beach shot right here. Look at this. I'm swimming at the gym, right? Little thirst trap shots. Like everybody's got. I remember my wife called me out. I was in the gym once, and it wasn't even me. It was my trainer. My trainer threw up the photo, right? And I just reshared it. She was like, I see what you're doing. Take that down right now. I was like, delete.
I see you, Jill. That's what I'm talking about.
But I see that you choose not to go in that direction. Why?
Well, for one, I'm super private, and maybe to a fault to some degree. I'm just a super private person. I feel like even who I am as a person, I share so much, but I feel like when you get so deep into what we're doing as far as like industry wise, and it's that profile grows, I want to make sure I have something that's mine, and it's really important for me. I do a lot, even when it comes to like other people or things that I do in general. And I don't know if it's just growing up in a Southern Baptist home or my great grandmother, but I'm also that person that feels like when I do things, it's between me and God or me, that person and God. Like I don't feel the need to like share it. So like right now, if I went in, I don't know, spent $5,000 to feed the homeless, like I don't feel like I don't need to tell anybody that. Like I don't have a point in posting that. To me, that's personal. That's something that I did from my heart for somebody else. I am really working on finding the thin line between the two. Because what I do know, and I get a lot of feedback from it, is people find inspiration in who I am as a personal person.
Right.
It's the work you do, Sheena, is great. I appreciate it. But then you as a person, like you're relatable. I get that. That's one thing I get a lot. It's like, I can actually relate to who you are as a person. So I'm trying to find that thin line, but overall, I've been away since I was a kid. I was just super private person. My mom has met 2 guys I've dated, one by accident, literally by accident. We went to a basketball game. She told me she was not going to the game. So it was actually my college sweetheart. I took him to a high school game. Like, we drove up to one of my high school games. And my parents told me they weren't going. And I get there, my mom is there. And so that's how she met him. It
Wow.
wasn't because I brought him home.
Because you introduced, wow.
So my parents have formally only met one guy I've ever dated.
Yeah, so
it's not just
you're
like
private.
Yeah, it's
airtight,
not
private.
Yeah, it ain't just like with the public. It's even with like my siblings laugh all the time. They have a joke, honestly, to joke in my family. It says we're only gonna know when Sheena gets married because she's gonna invite us to the wedding one day.
Wow.
Like, it's not gonna be like I introduce you, like 5 years gonna go by and it's gonna be worked up to it. My sister says all the time, she's like, we're gonna get just a call or a text or something one day. I'm like, oh, I'm getting married, come by on Saturday.
No. So how do you balance this though? Because we're moving towards a place where we are now complete open books.
Mm-hmm.
Like each one of us are like reality TV, 24-hour reality TV stars, right? Where you see everything that's happening,
Yep.
like, you know, and we are almost incentivized
Yep.
to do that, right? So how do you strike that balance?
For one, to be quite frank, I don't really give a fuck what people think. I just don't. I am so big on, I don't even call them fans. I actually hate the word fans. People that appreciate what I do and people that follow the news and the journey of what I'm going on, I appreciate them 100%. So let me not discount it in that way. Absolutely appreciate them. Absolutely love it. But I have not and I will not ever put my destiny or my worth in another human's hands, because as greatly as they can build you up, they can tear you down. And the minute you give them that power to build you up, you gave them that same power to tear you down. So I just don't get involved in putting it out there from the fact that people are going to come and say, oh, you look beautiful, or hard eyes. Like, so what if I have a car accident one day? I'm gonna be ugly then? Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
put my
Yeah.
my faith or my mindset into the hands of anybody else. And the minute you do that, once again, if it turns left, then that you went with it.
Yeah, that's powerful. That makes me think about, how do you deal with, you know, obviously we're coming through, I won't even say we're coming through. I think we're still in this Me Too era, right? Actually, it's a friend of mine who really kicked that off, Dr. Wendy Walsh. She was Time Person of the Year, I think 2017, for being one of the first kind of whistleblowers in the space. But I can't imagine, like, I already know what it's like being a black man doing the things that I do, but then I can't imagine being a black woman, right, in this kind of space too. So first, help me understand what it is like. If it's even possible to help me. And I guess here's what I mean by that is, there are a lot of men that are going to be listening to this that I believe are oftentimes doing things that are flat out disrespectful and inappropriate. Mm-hmm. And they don't know it. So what is an example of you being in this space of being, the CEO of your own company, right? Mm-hmm. Where the line was crossed?
One thing that I definitely deal with is I get the men who want to have a meeting, and supposedly it's a business meeting, and by the time at the end of the meeting, either if we're like in the office, it's one of those like, oh, you want to go grab something to eat?
Okay, after the meeting.
No, I don't. Or if it's meeting someone out at dinner, it's supposed to be a business meeting, and we completely switched to nothing but personal conversation. And it's like, wait, did we really come here for business, or did we come here so that you're trying to get to know me? Like, know me. Like, two totally different things. I will say that I think some men know exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
I do think there's a thin line. I've been saying this a lot today, thin line. And I think there's a thin line between a lot of things. But I do think there's a thin line because in some cases, it can be completely innocent. I feel like if you and I went to dinner and we start talking business, and of course it's different because you're married and I love your wife, but I'm just an example. And we start talking, personal. It might be genuinely like, I like you as a person. Like, I'm just curious to learn more about you. It could be completely innocent.
Right.
And then sometimes it might be where like it's not like you trying to lead it to somewhere that it shouldn't go. But then I also hate it because now I'm seeing where women are now pushed on the outside, and there's things that people don't even invite us to do anymore. So there's a lot of men who won't even go out to a dinner, like a business meeting over dinner with a woman anymore, because he might be that guy who will ask you some personal questions, but he might have a history of just not doing anything inappropriate, just his personality of trying to get to know a client or a potential partner.
Right.
And at this point, he's probably like, you know what, I just will not take a woman out
Right.
for a business dinner. So I've seen the progression of it, it's been good progression, but I've also seen some of the drawbacks from it.
Yeah. It's an interesting space right now because I completely agree. And I know from talking to a lot of guys, and I know even in particular, I navigate differently now. So for example, today, I would never even have this interview. I would never do this alone without having someone else be in the room.
Because you have some ladies will be like, oh, he was staring at me when he said this word, and I know what he was trying. I mean, don't get me wrong. The women who have truly been harassed, been affected, my heart goes to them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Women deserve better. But are there some cases where like it has completely been blown out of proportion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess the positive from this is that it's now, hopefully it's on everyone's radar.
Yes.
And there's awareness that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think we need to be very conscious and very fair to those who are truly affected by this, because it's not fair to women. It's not right to women. And it's kind of like we have those one or two who go out and they'll say something and it's really not the case.
Right.
And then it messes up for everybody else. So even as a woman, those women who have been affected, who have been harassed, who've been even potentially raped or whatever the case, like be very respectful to what they've gone through. Like don't just throw it out there because you want to be part of a movement, because this is very serious what some of these women have had to deal with, and it's really not fair. But I am very, very happy that more media and more attention have been brought to what's going on. For sure.
There you go. All right. So now let's talk about this little company. This little thing that you're doing right now, because this is the future. This is hot. This is incredible. This is CapWay. So tell us about why you decided to found this company. What was the problem as an entrepreneur you're trying to create a solution for?
Yeah. Okay. So CapWay Fintech, my latest company, financial technology. So CapWay came about, really started 2016 was the idea kind of came about. So my first company, as I mentioned, Sheenas Apps, left Mississippi, moved to San Jose.
Okay.
It's heart of Silicon Valley. And left Silicon Valley, moved to Austin. So the majority of my time of Sheenas Apps was actually in Austin, actually.
Shout out to Austin. My brother lives in Austin.
Austin was nice.
Yeah.
Austin was nice. Super clean.
Yeah.
One of the cleanest cities I've ever stayed in my life.
I've also seen more white men with dreadlocks in Austin, Texas than anywhere in the world.
Austin's theme is keep Austin weird. So there's no telling what you will see in Austin, to be quite honest. But growing up in Mississippi, Terry, Mississippi to be exact, small country town, one bank in the entire city. I don't even call it a city, I call it a town. But the people in my town really didn't use that bank for the most part. People use predatory options, payday lending, check cashing, title loans.
Right.
Because Terry sits on the outskirts of Jackson, and Jackson is predominantly black, impoverished area. So the difference in growing up in that and then coming back and seeing it the years after I had left was I had the pleasure, and I would say the pleasure because it was an eye-opening experience to be in tech at a time where I was able to see technology disrupt industries that I feel like one time people thought was never going to be disrupted. I don't think 10 years ago, even they've been around 10 years, but I don't think even then, 10 years ago, people thought that Uber was going to truly disrupt the taxi space.
Not at all. Yeah.
Because, if you know the story of like Uber, where they like the tax commission was like calling the cops.
Oh, yeah.
On like every time somebody would try to catch an Uber, like a cop would be there because they broke the law, the regulatory things around it. It's like that with Airbnb. Even now hotels are trying to, or apartments or whatever the case is, trying to go against them. But I was super amazed and had the pleasure of being around when like these and studying these companies as they was truly just breaking down barriers as far as like disrupting industries, very archaic industries. Let me say that, because like I said, I think the taxi never thought anybody was going to come in and
not at all
take over what they were doing. So in going back home to Mississippi, the thing that clicked for me that had never clicked for me before was technology can change this. Like the people of my community who don't have the access they need to proper financial services, because regardless of their income level, regardless of their location, they should have the same opportunity at finances as everybody else.
Right.
And the only way to do that is through technology. And I had the experience of building a tech company, but also had the experience from childhood up to know what it's like to be one of those people who don't have the same access and opportunity. And it was like, I'm going to put those two together.
Right.
And that's going to allow me to build something that no amount of money can allow somebody to build what CapWay is.
See, we got to stop right there. William. Got to go to William on this. William, you must take notes on this. All right. What Sheena, what you just said, I think is a masterclass in how to identify a potential business that will be disruptive, that will be huge. And what that is that you identified an acute problem. This isn't a small problem. The fact that there are banking deserts, and the fact that, payday loans are, 35% interest rates, right? That is a major issue, right? People are losing half their check when they go in, half their, they make $300 that week. No, you made $150, right? That's one. So an acute problem. Secondly is you used your uniqueness. You use all your experience, right? The fact that you're from Mississippi, you went through that experience, you had the technology side, right? You have all of this so that, in other words, there are very few people in the world that have that exact experience that can create that exact solution.
100%.
That's how you know that's the right business, right? I think that is a masterclass. You identified a unique problem, and you came up, an acute problem. You identified an acute problem, came up with a unique solution. All right, sorry. I just got excited on that one.
So there were things in building the company that I knew that other startups had tried, and I knew why they failed. Like, if you name a company that's tried it, I'm going to tell you off top. I can tell you why they failed. And even when you go to the bigger companies who are trying to get into like the whole unbanked, underbanked, financial underserved market, I can tell you why it doesn't work or why it wouldn't work. Amazon's trying to get into that space. JP Morgan I think they just announced they're allocating $30 million, I think, to this startups in this space.
Okay, interesting.
It's been plenty of this just trying to get into the space. Let me say that. It's never going to work. They might get some traction, but as far as like truly breaking down the doors and disrupting the space, it's not going to happen. Because if you go right now to rural Mississippi and you talk to somebody about Wells Fargo, they're going to look at you like,
right,
what?
Right.
What?
Is that a movie? Is that a movie?
And even for the young generation who's heard of Wells Fargo, they've only probably heard of them through social media. And we know that social media ain't too fond of Wells Fargo for the most part. So their perception already is negative.
Right.
So why would I bank with someone who I feel is stealing my money or not going to be good for me? And a lot of even people who live in big cities, so let's say take somebody in D.C., and you would ask them, well, why would you bank with CapWay and not Wells Fargo? It's not only is the name have been tarnished with a lot of people, but then it goes back to I can't afford those fees. Or if Wells Fargo does have, I'm just using them as an example, but if Wells Fargo has a department for people who are lower to moderate income, this is a department that they created for PR. Like they're not truly out to help me. This was a company that was built from the ground up to completely focus and disrupt this market. It's not an afterthought. It's not a department.
Right.
It's not I researched this space and I realized there's a lot of money to be made in it. Like this is yes, we're a for-profit company. And I think super upfront about that because y'all have the people that try to go back behind you and be like, oh, you make an impact, but you're a for-profit company and you doing A, B, and C. Yes, we are a for-profit company, but there's 100% a way to, I say, make change and make money. That's like the saying is like do good, do and all. No,
Sure.
I say you can make change and make money.
Sure.
So we're in this space to make change and make money.
Okay, I like it. So, is who's the customer, and is this U.S. only? Because there were two questions actually that came. One person said, "Is CapWay in Australia?" Another was, "Is CapWay in the U.K.?"
So we are currently only U.S. based.
Okay.
Definitely have plans of going international, 100%. But we're currently only U.S. based, and that was actually important for me because when you look at all the money that people like Mark Zuckerberg is giving out, that the Gates Foundation is giving out, exactly in the financial inclusion space, they're doing it in parts of Africa, different countries within the African continent, or they're doing it in places in like India. None of them are like, oh, let's do it in America,
right?
Where 55 million people are unbanked or underbanked. No one is doing it here. It's like we're trying to help somebody else, but not help people in our own backyard. And it was super important for me to do it here because it's not fair that just because people look at us as this first world country, we're not all doing great.
Yeah, that's incredible. You just said 55 million or
unbanked
or
unbanked and underbanked. So
and
together.
Underbanked. That's incredible.
Yes,
it's incredible. Okay, so that's who you're going after.
Yes. Well, that's who we. So I use the analogy of Facebook a lot, just because people like to know the story of Facebook. So when Facebook started, Facebook said we're going to focus strictly on college students. He knew long term his goal was to really focus overall in the social world. So we start with unbanked and underbanked because we know like they're affected the most. They're overlooked the most. And so they should 100% be focused on first. They need it and they deserve it first. But our overall goal as a company is to have a true disruption of the cashless economy. $3.1 trillion last year was still done in cash. But as an economy, especially an American economy, we're moving to completely being cashless. You walk to a restaurant right now and they'll tell you we don't accept cash.
Right.
You take the 18-year-old who wants Netflix. You can't pay cash for Netflix.
Right,
you can't pay cash for Spotify. And so over time and over these next few years, we are slowly going to move to an economy where we're not going to take as cash the way that we used to. So when you take people who are unbanked, underbanked, can't use their account because they're in overdraft, or they don't want to use up their car because they don't want to hit a minimum balance fee, whatever the case, they should not be left out of an economy just because the mainstream financial service system was not made for them or meant for them or catered to who they are. They need a system too. And so it was about building an entire system to disrupt that cashless economy so that everybody can participate.
So you're providing almost all, or should I say many of the same services as a traditional bank?
Yes.
Right? And you're actually qualified as a bank.
Yeah, so we're FDIC insured, everything.
Okay. So I could drop 50,000 and I'm covered.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
So
right,
I tell people often we're that middle ground between like your newer, innovative, quick prepaid card type of thing. So an example I use is Cash App because it's most popular right now. You can send, receive money. You get the Cash App card. But the thing with Cash App is it's a prepaid debit card. So you can only, of course, spend what's on there, which is good to some degree, but you can't grow financially with that by doing that ever. With traditional banking, even though it wasn't meant for most of us, but in the sense of that, you can grow financially by following the system and the tools that are created and offered through traditional banking. We sit in the middle. So we have those same innovative tools, send money, receive money really quickly, like, the fun, innovative things. But we have also the tools and the pieces from a traditional side that we're helping people grow financially healthy and generational wealth.
I love it. How many 30-year-olds in the world own a bank?
That I have been able to know and research? None.
Are you the youngest person that owns a bank?
I've been told that I am.
In the world?
Now, I know there's people younger than me that maybe operating the C-suite, but they weren't the founder of the company.
Right.
So as far as being the founder and operating, believe I am the youngest.
That is incredible. Tell us about the team real quick. And then also you got some VC funding, I think?
Yes.
Okay.
So teams currently, full-time is 4 of us. With contractors included is 8 of us.
Okay.
So still pretty small. Really great team though. My CTO met him at the very beginning of the company. Bugged him. It is crazy because he could easily right now be working for Google, literally, like easily working for Google. In fact, he was offered an option to work at Google, and he turned it down to be the CTO of this company. And it was because he said, I can go there and I can code and I can, make a nice paycheck, or I can make a real impact. And I told him early, when I think he was more about money at the very beginning, I told him, I can't pay you $175. Like, just gonna be honest right here, right now. I can't pay you $175. However, if you come on board, that $175 is gonna look like chump change to you one day.
Exactly.
And he believed in the mission. He believed in me enough that he came on CTO.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love it. And the VC funding too?
Yes. So VC funding, we've raised right under $1 million. We're getting ready to raise a pretty big seed round coming up.
Okay.
Some of our investors, Backstage Capital, love Arlen Hamilton.
Backstage, there you
Absolutely
go.
love
Yay.
Arlen. Initialized Capital,
Okay,
which is
yeah.
Gary Tan and Alexis O'Hannon. So Serena's husband.
There you go.
Absolutely, both of them are absolutely amazing. And the entire Initialized group, honestly, probably top investor that I couldn't ask for a better early stage investor.
Wow. With
the power that they have. And the way they literally cater to their portfolio companies, I'm extremely happy to be part of Initialized. Hustle Fund, Liberty Bank, which is the second or third largest African American owned bank, depends on what day of the week it is. Which I thought, and I tell people, the reason that investment for me is so significant is because I think it shows that as much as we really still want to push and talk about banking black and traditional black owned banks is never going to move us as a community. That's just the reality of it. If you add up every black owned bank in America, their assets still don't equate to JP Morgan's $3.1 trillion. So how can all these black banks together still not touch one of the major banks? We can't save ourselves that way. Like, it's not enough money as far as assets to make the impact that this community really needs. And so that investment was huge because I think what it signified was they understood that we have an opportunity to touch the masses in a way that traditional black-owned banking has never been able to do.
Absolutely.
The ideal of it was 100% great. It definitely did its part in the communities when redlining was bad and all those things, but it's never been able to make a huge impact, especially nationwide or to the masses. It's just it never got to that point. And so to me, their investment showed that they know that, they understand that, and that we are the company that will be able to touch everyone who's always felt on the outside of traditional banking. Like, we're gonna be able to touch the masses in a way that no one else has ever been able to do so.
Wow, I love it all. Like, I'm telling you, I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you.
And it's interesting because if we could invest in people, literally the first moment that I met you, I would have written a check for $10 million. I didn't have $10 million at the time, but I would have written a check for $10 million. It would have bounced, but
I
cool.
expect that this company, if and I'm hoping one day you can play this back, but I expect one day that we will have a very nice exit. I pray about it often. When I say the reason I pray about it is because the saying is companies are meant to be sold. They're built to be sold. I pray about it because, one, I always think about what's next. And the reason I say that is because I look at other legacies, the Walton family, the Rockefeller family. Like, they built something that never was sold, so that their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren was always going to have something that was built that was going to last the test of time. Most of us as black people, we don't do that. We don't have something that we built so solid that our great-grandkids can be the president of it, and that generational wealth continues. So for me, is this that company that I'm supposed to keep, so that my great-grandchild's gonna be the president one day of CapWay, or is the company that I build, I sell, and I build the next thing that my great-great-grandchild can be the president of. So I pray about it for that reason. And I also pray about it to push come to shove, we sell it, which, once again, companies are meant to be sold. I can take that money and do some more amazing things with it.
Absolutely.
But on top of that, I want to make sure that I have the ability to build it up enough so that if and when it is sold, I've made such a deep impact with what we do that even when the company that buys it tries to make some changes, we've done our job.
Yeah. That seems to be your through line, right? Is impact. It's all about impact.
Yeah.
From you, Mississippi, first year, right? That first company, iZone,
Yep.
right? It ultimately you were like, no, because I feel like I can make better impact, bigger impact myself.
Yeah.
Right. The next company, like everything has been about impact, and I applaud you for that. And I have no doubt that you're going to continue to make incredible, impact. My last question is this: how can folks support you? And I really want you to give because sometimes when I ask this question, people are like, oh yeah, well hit me up on, but no, somebody's listening right now. They're very inspired by what they've heard. How can they support you?
So CapWay, download the app or go to the website, start an account. Get a friend to start an account. So either way, let's get some, not just start an account, actually deposit money, have an active account. That
Right.
would be the most important. That's number one. Number two, I would say go to my personal website, sheenaallen.co. And that allows you to sign up for my newsletter, my personal newsletter, because I have more things that go on outside of even just CapWay. CapWay is my focus. I mean, you have to be able to focus to really do amazing things. But I do things outside of CapWay. So I build all around. It's not just fintech. It's who knows what's going to come out the woodwork soon enough. And I would say the number three thing, sports support, would be, I don't know, be mindful. That supports me. To be mindful of people who don't look like you, who aren't like you, who are different from you. Like that, to me, that's a big, I feel like that's what I embody. That's what I represent. The reason I think people are attracted to who I am is because I'm the eyeball. And a lot of people feel like they're the eyeball. And it's like the eyeball made it. So, yeah.
There you go. Sheena Allen, the oddball. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.